The reality is the rule of thirds. Third of the time, it's going to be like you're going to feel like just going for it, and you need to go for it. And third of the time, it's going to feel like an average workout. And a third of the time, it's not going to feel good. And you know what you got to do? You got to do your best. You got to do the best you can that day with whatever you have going on. But just realize that every single champion has a rule of thirds. To me, it gives me peace. Because when you do have like those days, Druce, where you don't really feel like it, or you just kind of didn't really, you got to realize that everybody training has these days. Everybody.
Hello, everyone. We are Greg and Jacquie Francis, and welcome to High Performance Parenting, where our passionate goal is to encourage you to raise champion children in a crazy world. Every week, we will bring you multiple episodes from our extensive experience of raising our six happy, healthy, successful, godly kids who are confidently equipped to win big in life.
We deeply believe that any parent who is provided with the right knowledge and continual support can raise amazing kids. And when they do, all of our futures get better. If raising up future generations of absolute champions matters to you as much as it does to us, here's how you can contribute. Like and share this podcast with everyone you know. And together, let's embrace this journey of raising champion kids in a crazy world. All right, so we're talking about standards now. Again, we're going down this path of training champions in our home here. And so first you just need to know that maintaining high standards on a consistent basis, the key is consistency. It's going to lead to greater results, right? It's not only just trying your hardest when you're in a match. It's trying your hardest when you're practicing. Right? It's not just when you're running, let's just run because we're just running. It's no, let's run and actually try to get better at running if we're running races. You know what I mean? So we're preparing for the races. You guys know about Kobe Bryant, right? He became so good because he had this like crazy high standards. Like he's known for like this meticulous training routine and, the kind of standards that he would put himself to that most other players wouldn't even understand. I mean, how many times did I hear stories about somebody who's a very well-known player, like somebody who's like top 5, 10 NBA player would be like, yeah, I remember playing with Kobe and we were traveling somewhere and I was going to get a practice in. So I'm like, I'm going to at least beat him to the gym or at least tie him. And I'd get there at 6 a.m. And Kobe had already done a full workout and he was actually going home because he'd already been there for 2 hours. And he was going home to eat something, take a 30-minute nap, and come back and do a second workout for the day, right? This was the kind of standards that he lived by. It was hard for a lot of his teammates to be his teammate. They just thought he was kind of arrogant or they just pushed too hard because he expected other people to live up to a standard like him because he wanted to win so bad, right? And so the reason I bring him up is because he was kind of the gold standard, if you will, for work ethic in the NBA. Now, do you have to be Kobe Bryant? No. But Kobe Bryant, the thing I like about it is that he used his choleric personality and his competitive nature, and then he did something with it on a daily basis. I remember hearing about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's famous for saying that I practiced harder than I ever played in a game. He said, I practiced the hardest. I would play against everybody else, and I was so aggressive that people, imagine if you're in practice. Most times practices are what? They're kind of halfway. Everybody's just kind of having fun. We're kind of working on some skill sets. He would go after you like it's Game 7 of the NBA championship in practice. He would be talking smack to you. He would be embarrassing you, right? He would be fouling you hard. He would be doing it all in practice. And he said then when the game came around, game felt like practice to most people, to him. And that's why it always looks so effortless. So I just say all this so we can talk through standards here real quick. And again, I know you guys are kind of developing these right now, okay? So I don't expect you to have some kind of perfect answer, but maybe the question could be, currently where do you think you are and where would you like to get to? So how would you guys rate your work ethic right now? Anybody? Go ahead, Elli. How hard do you work when you're practicing or playing? Scale of 1 to 10, let's say.
Probably.
Be really honest. 10 would be it's everything you possibly could give, like everything, where It's like when you got done, say you're running whatever, you get done and you're just like, I don't even know how I did that. That was like, I don't know how I could have done anything any better at all. Right?
I've been probably working like 7,
Okay.
not 10, because I don't think I've been giving it my whole all.
Okay.
But that's probably where I'm working at right now.
Okay. Which is fine. And that's honesty, right? So now maybe you want to start raising that standard where you always practice at an 8, let's say, which is a little further than you are right now. Maybe you just, start setting a standard where it's like my work habit. If I'm going to be preparing like you are right now for cross country, why don't I, instead of just kind of running, why don't I try to give a level 8 or above every time that I practice? Doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. Doesn't matter if everybody else is sore. Doesn't matter if everybody else just like, this is where you get out of being in agreement. Like, well, we've all run it's our 3rd day this week to run. We don't really feel like running. So let's just all run a slower pace. See, if you're going to run at level 8, that's going to be your standard, and you probably will push harder. And you'll be okay with other people not, but it's your standard, right? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Anybody else, work ethic wise? What would you say? I don't care. It could be about golf, could be about whatever.
Yeah, sure. So for me, probably right now for golf, I feel like I'm kind of figuring out my standard because last season I feel like I was just really trying to be like the rest of my teammates and fit into their social group and things like that. So my standard wasn't as high. It was probably only like a 6 during that season. So I'm kind of figuring out my standard for this season. I'm trying to push a lot harder, and I feel like my scores have gotten so much better since last season. And I feel like right now is just kind of a season of figuring out what my standard is. I feel like it's so much higher than last season. So I feel like it's probably at an 8 because I feel like lots of my shots, I'm like, I don't know how I could have done that better. Like, but then there's that percent that I'm like, I should have taken an extra second, should have figured out my line a little better, should have just really thought through this shot. And so I feel like my standards have risen a lot since last season, but they could still rise more.
Okay. I like it. It's good.
I feel like if we're talking about golf, I feel like I'm working a lot harder at making sure I take improvement better, like making sure I take correction better. Like if I get a piece of correction and I have no idea how this is supposed to work, I try it anyway and see if it works. And if it doesn't work that time, I'm going to try it again. And I'm going to try it again. And I'm going to try to remember everything that my coach has told me so that next time I see how good I am, I can really see their correction through that process. So I feel like accepting correction and everything is a big one. So I feel like I'm working at like in between 7 and 9 each time we go out because I'm really, really trying to think about when we're in the car, what do I need to improve on in each thing, driving, using my hybrid, chipping, putting, even the mental game I'm trying to get down so that when I am playing with other people, like you said, I can't just throw my clubs in the pond. I need to actually control myself because it's such a mental game, and I know I have the mental capacity to hold it all, that I need to continually raise my work ethic so that I can continually learn to control myself better.
It's good. Abbie?
So for me, I feel like I'm probably working around a 7 right now. I know I can do so much better. I feel like I've improved a lot right now, but I also need to make sure I'm taking everything seriously. Sometimes I feel like I probably don't take everything seriously as I should. Just kind of like, no, this is kind of where I'm at right now, but need to make sure that I need to push myself, whether it's really pushing to make sure I use my hybrid because that's not one of my favorite shots right now, or really pushing to make sure my driver is really where I need it so I can get that loft and get the distance that I need. Or it's really honestly embracing when we have to chip out in our backyard. It's not what I would like to do, but I also need to realize this is how I get better at my chipping. So I can lower my score so I can ultimately break 100.
You want to go with Druce? Okay, go ahead, buddy.
I think for me, this is about running. I think for me, I've been kind of working at an 8 to 9, just because I try really hard to get a pretty good time, but I don't feel like I always give it my all. I sometimes kind of slack a little bit when I don't want to do it. And I feel like I need to kind of raise that a little bit to be able to give it my all every single time.
That's good. Well, you remember we talked about this briefly last night, but I told you I had heard from an Olympic athlete. Olympics are going on right now, and I had heard somebody say that they're that one thing that changed from them was when they heard a coach tell them they were having a conversation around how they just had like a bad workout or something, and they just felt really flat. You guys know what this is like, especially when you run 3 days a week like you do. There's just sometimes where it just feels pretty good, and you can push it, and sometimes it just feels kind of average, and sometimes it just is like, for whatever reason, mentally, I just don't feel like doing this right now, and it's kind of hard to even get yourself in the mindset of wanting to do it, or maybe your body doesn't feel that great because you're sore or whatever. Well, that coach had told that person, they said, listen, don't, because she was just like saying, yeah, I just really felt like I had a really off workout. And he said, it's no problem. And she's like, what do you mean it's no problem? I'm preparing for the Olympics. I can't afford to have off workouts. He's like, no, it's really not a problem. And he said, the reality is the rule of thirds. Third of the time, it's going to be like, you're going to feel like just going for it, and you need to go for it. And third of the time, it's going to feel like an average workout. And a third of the time, it's not going to feel good. And you know what you got to do? You got to do your best. You got to do the best you can that day with whatever you have going on, but just realize that every single champion has a rule of thirds. To me, it gives me peace, because when you do have like those days, Druce, where you don't really feel like it, or you're just kind of didn't really, you got to realize that everybody training has these days. Everybody. It's not just that you're getting behind. The key is, though, just knowing that you don't want to let that become your standard of just having bad days all the time. Make sense?
Yeah.
Right? So, all right, let's talk specifically about this with you girls for golf, because now that we're setting some greater standards here, so it all starts with wanting to have higher standards. But what is greater effort? What does greater work ethic look like, do you think, when it comes to what you guys are trying to accomplish this year?
I feel like taking the extra second to really think of everything that we've been taught. Like for me, number one, keep my head down. Do not top the ball. Like that is how I miss hit every single time I miss hit. So taking the extra time to remember that.
Okay. So how do you do that?
I need to make sure that I count like 3 seconds after I hit the ball, looking at the ground.
It's good. It's all good. What I'm trying to go with this is, I think that the way you're going to get really good at this is by hitting the ball on the range hundreds and hundreds of times with never looking up. Training your muscle memory that your head stays right here, straight down. And like you said, you swing through the ball, you probably count to 1 after you have a full swing, and then you start looking for your ball. Right? But training yourself in practice. Like if you hit 1,000 shots between your next golf match, to now, and you did it without looking up on the range 1,000 times, and let's say you got 980 of them, you did not look up, do you think you're in a better or worse position when you actually get in the match?
For sure better.
See, things get unique when you're in competition. There's different levels of anxiety, stress, you're fighting off like fears, things like that. You have other people watching you, and you can go back to whatever is muscle memory. And if the muscle memory isn't a good habit, you'll go back to the bad habit, right? That's typically what, you guys have all noticed that, right? Usually, especially think about the last couple of holes yesterday, you knew you were catching up to Bella. Yeah. And so now you're starting to actually really be like, I don't want to I don't want to have one bad shot. Right. Correct. And so now you started to look up more and everything else. And it's just because of muscle memory, Right. So a greater effort could be, as golf does start here in a couple of weeks, that when there are buckets of balls to hit, you're trying to practice with knowing the thing you just said. Okay. And this is important. And maybe you even chart it to bring yourself a little, pocket notebook and say, and be honest with yourself, because it'll force you to actually think about it. See, this is a different level of work ethic than just, I'm going to show up. Hopefully we get a thing of balls. I'm going to go associate and hang with the girls for half the time. I'm going to play at everybody else's pace. See, when you don't have a set standard, you'll automatically fit into the standards around you, and they might not be good. Right. Meaning that they're kind of complaining. They don't really necessarily want to even hit balls today. And then you guys can easily fit into that, right? If you don't have your own standard set. Right. Make sense? Yeah. Okay. So that's one thing. So you got to practice exactly how you want to hit out there.
Right.
The range is almost more important than the matches.
Right.
That's just part of having a high standard of work ethic. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to add?
No, I feel like that's probably a big thing for me is working like I'm going to play, like envisioning every shot being the shot I need to, whatever it is, win or get back to a great score or whatever it is to be able to win my match, and like just really working like I'm gonna play, because I know I didn't exactly do that last season. I was really trying to just hit different, whatever it was, putting goals or how many yards can I get today with my driver, or whatever it is, not exactly applying that to how I was gonna play on the course.
Nice. Okay. So one more thing. What's some more things?
A couple more things is also for putting. When I do putt and I set out, like, whether it's the tees or the distances I'm going to take, make sure I actually practice taking that extra minute to read the green, because that's something that I'm struggling with, is reading the green effectively, and like taking the time to go on the other side and see the other side of the green, and just taking a minute instead of just coming up and hitting it and kind of guessing where it is and taking a quick read. Realizing, okay, is it sloping down? Is it going from left to right or right to left? Is it just curving a little bit, or is it going straight on? Is it a slow green or a fast green? Taking all that readings when you're doing like farther putts, not for like the short putts, but like the farther ones, making sure that I'm more consistent about reading the green, so that when I practice that way, then it's easier for me when I get on that pressure of being in a match.
It's really good. Now, the goal for this year, again, and of course the years after that, but is to get on varsity.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, to get on varsity, you're probably going to have to hit what? Score what? Under 100?
Under 100.
Okay. So you got to score under 100. So now, how can you improve your score from whatever it is right now, like 110, 120 to under 100?
Mostly for me, it's just doing one less putt each hole.
Okay.
That's how I improve.
Love it. Okay. So the reality is you guys are all getting a lot better at going from the tee to within 20 yards of the green. Correct?
Yes.
Like, I know that you could work on your driver all day and it might help you a little bit, but overall, it's probably not going to change your score a ton right now until you really fine tune it. Then it might work. When you can start driving the ball like I can, then that's going to be a big difference. That'll save you probably 1 or 2 strokes a hole just because of the distance. But as of right now, you guys aren't hitting it horribly that way. So pretty much all of your scoring opportunity is going to be with 20 yards in, chipping, and putting, correct?
Yes.
So how much, if we're going for score here, how much of your time should you spend chipping and putting? Like let's say out of 100% of the time is practice, how much of it should be spent on chipping and putting, do you think?
Probably 2/3 of it, the majority of it.
Yeah, I'd say probably like 70%. Okay. So, again, like this, you keeping this standard in front of you guys. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to get to practice. And a lot of times with your practice right now, they just kind of give you a bucket of balls and you go, right?
Yeah.
So you guys though, but now even when you're chipping, are you chipping just kind of randomly? And just if it lands in the green and rolls off the other side, no big deal. I'm just chipping. Or are you chipping with a mindset like, I am trying to get this up and in, right? I am trying to actually get this as close to the pin as I can. I am actually thinking about which side of the pin I want to miss on so I have an easier putt. See, there's a different level of practice while you're there, and because we go to the, like yesterday we were out there, right? And all of us are just chucking balls. You have to like wear a helmet out there because we have balls flying everywhere. But are you actually really thinking about, all right, let's say that I'm on the 17th hole, I'm down by 1, I can win this championship if I just actually chip this decent and only 1 putt or 2 putts. See, now practice that scenario when you're chipping. See, that will help you guys. All 3 of you will probably shave 20 strokes off of 18 holes easy if you do that. Make sense?
Yes.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening and thanks for your love and support. We hope that today's episode added tremendous value to you and your family. It would mean so much to us if you would partner with us on our mission of helping parents around the globe raise champion children in this crazy world.
To do so, simply take a moment to like and share this podcast with everyone in your network. See you next time.